Good afternoon, Houston County teachers. We are so excited to be here with you today. We are streaming this training from our office, and we cannot wait to get started. So first of all, my name is Megan Spagner, and I am one of your curriculum integration specialists, and we have 4 other people on the team. We have Larry Wadsworth, Lynn Hawkins, Kristen Honecker, and Michael Foss. And y'all, we are here to cover a ton of content today. So if you have just started joining us, we are going to be covering Google Docs, using forms, using YouTube, Zoom, virtual field trips, and we'll have a few resources at the end. We are going to be going really fast. However, please know that this is going to be recorded, and at the end of today, it will go live for you to be able to go back and review some of the stuff that we're doing. And if you have any questions at all during the training, please feel free to use the chat feature. We have a few moderators in here that are going to be answering questions as we go. But should we not get to your question, please feel free to email us at cis@htbe.net. So you're going to be hearing from me for a chunk of time during this training. We have other trainings that you'll be able to view too at some point. But right now, we're going to hear about our countywide expectations. And then right after that, you'll hear from one of our very own Houston County teachers and how she used a combination of digital resources. And then I'll be popping back on here to share a little bit about working in Google Docs. Now, before I switch to that, I do need to make a correction in our expectations video. MAPS is going to be a 4-week window and not a 2-week window. So just keep that in mind as you're watching. And Larry for us right now. Be back in a second. Here are our Houston County instructional expectations for this school year. Here are our Houston County instructional expectations for this school year. All schools should administer MAP the first 2 weeks of school. No graded assignments should be submitted to tools such as ClassDojo and Edmodo. These tools should only be used for communicating messages and reminders to parents and students. Pre-K students do not have the option to participate in distance-only learning. Secondary content coordinators are creating Google Classroom lessons for middle and high school courses. Elementary content coordinators are creating lessons using Google Drive for elementary teachers to pull lessons into their Google Classrooms. If schools close after face-to-face school has started, the Teaching and Learning Department will provide schools with guidelines for instructional minutes and grading. Now we know this school year is going to look a lot different than normal. We'll have a blended learning model with our face-to-face teachers. If you're an elementary face-to-face teacher, you'll be required to use Google Classroom for a minimum of 1 to 2 times a week and use school-level online learning programs such as iReady, iStation, and Star Reading. For our middle and high blended learning teachers, you'll be required to use Google Classroom a minimum of 2 times a week and use school-level online learning programs. For our distance learning teachers at the elementary level, you'll deliver instruction through Google Classroom and video conferencing along with iReady. Our middle and high distance learning teachers will assign lessons through OdysseyWare and deliver support lessons through video conferencing. Should we start face-to-face and transition to online learning for school closing, teachers will use the plans described for face-to-face blended learning along with video conferencing support lessons. These are our Houston County instructional expectations for this school year.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Caparelli and I'm a 4th grade teacher at Langston Road Elementary. I just wanted to share something with you that I love doing in Google Classroom, and that's book clubs. In my classroom at school, my students always love to get together and talk about the books they had been reading in book clubs, and so I incorporated that into Google Classroom by using Epic Books, which is an online platform that's free for teachers, and it has tons of level books for students that are available online. I'll teach a mini lesson to my students, and then I would send them to breakout rooms virtually to meet together with the members of their book club. To guide their instruction, they would use a Google Slides activity that they would jot their thinking throughout the week as they read, and this also helps guide their discussions. My students always love to get together virtually to talk about the books that they had been reading. It really promoted that classroom community outside of the walls of the classroom.
All right, and I am back. So again, MAPS testing will be a 4-week window instead of that 2-week window. And as y'all are already experiencing, our technical difficulties will happen throughout this streaming. Y'all, we apologize for that. We are doing the best we can with YouTube. It's being a little spicy today. So I don't know if you've ever had an experience with technology not working in your classroom, but it happens to all of us. All right, y'all, so I am here to talk to you about working in Google Docs. Now, I want you to think about how you may have used Google Docs this past year in the spring. Did you have your kids type in it? Did you have your kids, did you share things with them in Google Docs? I want to know in the chat really quickly how you may have used Google Docs previously. We're going to be talking about some ideas that you can do, such as rubrics. You can actually do shared writing in Google Docs. You can do different writing prompts. There's planning templates, but there's one specific thing that we're going to really cover to show you all the different things in Google Docs. So in the chat, I would love to know how you already use Google Docs and maybe even what it reminds you of. All right, so here's one example. This is a HyperDoc, y'all. HyperDoc is a fancy way of it being an interactive piece for your kids. Instead of them going in and out of Google Classroom constantly saying, oh, let me go click on this link, oh, let me go over here to this website, or working with multiple things, y'all can put it all in one Google Doc, and it's easily accessible, and it makes it more interactive for your kids and really gives them that virtual classroom feel and vibe when you do it this way. So I want y'all to take a look at some samples, and we will be sharing, I don't know, I can't remember if I told this to you at the beginning of this, but we'll be sharing all examples and recordings of this after this training today. So here's a awesome math example. I love how this teacher set this up. They discussed wonder, play, review, and then it tells kids exactly what to do. It says step 1, step 2, choose a word problem to solve, and then it says choose a tool to solve the problem using one of the 3 options. And they can use Google Slides, EduCreations, or Flipgrid. Y'all, I love me some Flipgrid. And then it kind of takes them through a whole lesson and gives them everything that they need in one spot. I love how this looks. I love how it feels. And I love that they actually get to go and create something. That's that higher ordered thinking for your kids. So really neat example. Here's another one. This is taking basically something that you would just hand to your kids in the classroom and having them interact with it. So I like this as well. This is a higher grades example where your kids would be able to come in here and just type on here. So that's one example, and then here's a science one. A lot of linking, a lot of good questions in here. And some of this, it's just a matter of, 1, creating it, and 2, making sure that your kids understand, like when you have a blue hyperlink, they need to access that. So we're gonna look at a couple more examples, and then I'll show you how to create some of this. So a tic-tac-toe, a choice menu, or a choice board would be a good way to get this out to your kids. It gives them just different ways to interact with the content that you're teaching. And here's a younger example, super simple, but really eye-catching and draws me already into the lesson, like, ooh, let me click here and let me play with this little game. So that's something that we wanted to share all these examples with you. So let's get into actually creating a HyperDoc, all right? So there's a couple of ways you can access Google Docs. Can anyone, well, I'm gonna show you first, and then I want you to tell me your favorite way. So I'm gonna open a new tab. You can open a new tab by clicking the little plus icon, or you can say Control T, and that'll open a new tab. I'm gonna talk a lot about some keyboard shortcuts. I love those. And let's talk about how to access Google Docs. The first way, you've got your grid or your waffle or your app launcher in the right-hand corner of this screen. I can click on that, and I can click on Google Docs right here. So that's the first way. The second way is to go into your Google Drive, and maybe you accessed your Google Drive from single sign-on, depends on how you go there. And in here, you have two ways you can do a Google Doc. You can come over here to the white space, right-click, and in that menu at halfway through, it's got Google Docs. You can click there, and that'll create a new Google Doc. Or I can come over here to the left-hand corner where it says New, a new button. I'm gonna click New Google Docs, all right? So that's the second way, but my favorite way recently has been to come over here and create a new tab. So I'm gonna do Control T again, and I'm gonna say docs.new. And that's gonna open a new Google Doc for me. Now the very first thing that I need you to do when you do it that way, you want to make sure you title your Google Doc, so whatever you're doing. So I'm going to say demo. And then you can also see how it's saving, y'all. This is all cloud-based. So right next to the title and past the star, there's a little folder. Y'all, in our basic training earlier today, we taught everyone how to use Google Drive to really benefit them. You can move your Google Doc and organize it by whatever system you have. So definitely do those two things first. Now in the chat, I would love to know how are you going to open a Google Doc? Are you going to do it the first way where you go to the app launcher? Are you going to go through Google Drive? Or are you going to use the docs.new? So y'all let me know how you're going to start that off. I'll give you a second to respond. I think I have a little bit of a lag. All right, so I'm waiting for those to come through, and while I'm waiting, I'm gonna look at how y'all actually did docs, shared doc for group assignments. I love that, Ms. Covington. Students complete their major writing assignments in Google Docs and turn them in through Google Classroom. Love that. Notes and worksheets, journal entries, used a weekly tech check. Love that. Cool, so a lot of you are waffle lovers or app launchers. Right-click in Google. I'm a right-clicker. We've been joking about that lately in the office. All right, cool. So a lot of you are sharing you love that app launcher feature. So let's talk about Google Docs and setting it up for a HyperDoc. So you can leave it just like it is, or you can kind of make it a little fancy. I know a lot of these, this one's kind of got a plain background, but this one over here, you can definitely tell that they did some editing with the background and just a few things like that. So let me come back over here, and what I want you to do is I want you in the left-hand corner, we're gonna click on File, and then at the very bottom, you've got Page Setup. Not at the very bottom, like second to the last of the bottom. So I'm gonna click Page Setup, and y'all, this is where you can adjust your settings for the page. So I can leave it as portrait, and I can change it to landscape. So some of you may like that. Or I can change the margins, and I can change the page color. So I am gonna change the page color just to do something to show y'all. So I'm gonna use, let's do this gray background. And y'all, I love this where you can set, if you have your page setups already good to go, and you click set as default, that'll carry over each time you do a new Google Doc. So that's a cool feature if you have a specific way you want it done. I'm gonna click OK. And so now I have that nice blue background, and that's how you kind of format the page setup. Now, we're gonna be inserting a lot of things into this Google Doc, right? We wanna make it interactive and ways for kids to click on things and really make it engaging for our kids. So I am going to show you some formatting options. So technology, lesson, demo. So I'm just typing in, y'all, what does this remind you of? Drop that in the chat. What is, like, there's something you are already using prior to Google Classroom coming out and all that. What does this remind you of? All right, so I need that to be a little bit bigger so you can highlight your text, and maybe I don't like how that text looks. Maybe I want a different font. I know my teachers love them some fonts. Like, y'all get crazy fonts. I don't even know where y'all get all those from. But Google does have a few of them in here. But let's say you don't like anything in this list. You can click More Fonts, and you can scroll in here and add custom fonts through this. So maybe I like this one. I don't even know what that word is. We're just going to pretend like I do. And I'm going to click OK. And notice how when I clicked on it, it populated over here. So these are the fonts that I've added that I really wanted in my drop down. So I'm going to click OK. And that's really tiny. So I know y'all know how to do this. A lot of these are already familiar to you. You're going to click on the font size, and notice how if I hover over things in here, it gives me what it actually is. So I'm going to click on font size, and let's make that a little bit bigger, and then I like how that looks. Now I can format with this ribbon right here, or I can come over here to format, and extra menu drops down, and I can say text. The other day we were in the office working through our project list that we've been doing this year, and we use the strike through sometimes. So format, text, and you can change the size and all of that right there. All right, so I may want to go ahead and center this or left align it, however y'all choose. And let's say I want to make sure people know that this is my HyperDoc. So you do have the options to double click in the header, and you can type up there, but I'm going to put a footer down at this Google Doc. And I'm going to say, created for you by your CIS team. All right. I may want to center that, so I'm going to use my ribbon up here and click Center Align. So headers and footers are pretty easy to do. And notice I double clicked up here and I have more options. So you can do header format, page numbers, and remove header, or you can come over here to format and do headers and footers here as well. So a lot of Google has multiple ways to do things. I love that they give you so many different options. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and let's say I want to insert a table. A lot of these, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but this is a table in here. This one has different tables. This one had different tables, all right? So we're gonna come back over here to my example, and we're gonna insert a table. So a couple ways to do this. You can say insert table. And what I like about this one is that it kind of grows with you. Now I don't need all that, so I'm just gonna do 2. And I have a table. Now I can add to this table by selecting the area, and I can say insert row, above, below, insert column left, and insert column right. But let's do a little bit of formatting before we get to that point. So if I click off of this, let's see. If I click off of this, notice how my ribbon changes. Y'all ready? It's like a magic trick. Y'all ready? Here it goes. It added some more formatting options for me. Now that I'm in the table, I click out. Again, click in the table and you get your formatting options. That's something I was working with a 4th grade classroom, a few of them this past year, and they were like, wait, where did you find the colors? Where did you find the lines? So definitely teach that to your kids if you're having them add tables and content into a Google Doc. All right, so I'm going to change this first text, this first table, and I want to make it a different background color. So I'm going to come up here to my little paint bucket, and I'm going to make that gray. So now I can really see that. And then maybe I want the box to pop out a little bit. So I'm going to come up here to border width, and I'm going to change it maybe to 3 points. And then you could even change the line to be a dashed line. So it makes it a little fancier, right? And so I'm going to type in here, I'm going to say connection, because really we're going to be building something here in a second. So I'm just showing you a little bit of the formatting options. Now, I am going to, instead of recreating this each time, instead of coming down here and saying insert table and then doing this over and over, I'm going to undo that. I can highlight a table in here and I can say control, oh, not control D, y'all, that's in my Google Slides. I can say control C on my keyboard. I'm going to enter and I'm going to say control V. So now I have that same formatting with that table, so I'm not having to recreate that each time. So again, highlight it, hit control C, click below, control V to paste that in there. So now I think y'all can kind of get the idea of adding tables in here and formatting in here. Now, normally in Google Docs it does, I don't know if y'all see my spelling error, normally there's a little red squiggly line. You should get grammar options in here. I don't know where mine has gone, I don't know where it went, but we're going to go to Tools, Spelling, and Grammar. So it does give you some spelling and word count suggestions in there. You even have a lot of you put in the chat that you use writing prompts and things like that with your kids. Definitely would be teaching them some of this if it's appropriate for your grade level. So I am going to fix that spelling error. So maybe I want to do connection, and then maybe I'm going to teach/learn right here. And then maybe over here, I'm gonna have them engage with the content. So y'all are kind of getting the idea behind this. Now I already have one that I'm gonna pull over here. Let me find it on my other screen real quick. It's coming, it's coming, y'all. I've got it. Thought I had it pulled up already. Let's see. Now, I'm going to give y'all a chance to do this in just a second. And let me pull this one over. Here it is. So again, you can do your title and do like a question right here, an I can statement. But let's add some things, okay? So we've kind of just set it up at this point. Now we're going to actually put the content in here. And y'all, I can see Lynn is already in here. Maybe she's building this lesson with me. And so we're gonna show y'all a few things in here. So I like the fact that in Google, in Google Docs, you can add pictures. So there's a few ways to do that. You can you can come over here to the icon in the ribbon where it's the little mountain where it says insert image. And then you can use any of these options. These top three are my favorite. So maybe I want to search the web, and this is a really cool lesson to do with your kids. Maybe you want to talk about key search terms. I know best practice, y'all, I used to teach second grade. I definitely recommend saying clip art at the end of your terms that you're doing, computer, mouse. Let's do clip art. And there's two ways to add this to your actual Google Doc. So I can come over here and I can say, okay, I want to drag and drop it in here. Or maybe I'm going to control Z. Or maybe when I click on it, do you see that little blue check mark? Maybe I want to insert it instead of dragging and drop. All right, so now I've inserted a picture. I'm going to resize it, and anytime you're resizing, you'll have this little blue box around it with the little nodules. That's something that you'll have to teach your kids to do if you get them creating in here. That's huge. I love doing stuff like that. And even right now, maybe I want to, excuse me, y'all, I had to swallow wrong. Maybe you want to align it differently. So I have that image selected. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh my goodness. All right, and maybe I want to put it over to the side. So I'm going to move that by clicking on the image. It's selected, and you've got your left align, center, and right align. All right. So that's starting to look good. So what is this a picture of? And y'all, this is really like a lesson for the kids. This is something that you would be doing already in the classroom. And we're going to do a couple more things in here. So maybe right here, I want to type maybe what I want to teach to them. So listen to this song, and then now watch how to use a mouse. So a couple of things, you can link anything in here. That's what makes this really interactive. That's kind of what this person has done over here. They've linked to different websites, or maybe they have linked to playlists, or maybe they've linked to different different Google Docs or forms, so the kids aren't hopping in and out of Google Classroom all at the same time. So you can link to pictures and to text. So I'm going to click on my picture, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to click on that picture. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to highlight these words. I'm going to say listen to this song, and on my other computer screen I have my URL. I'm going to copy it and bring it over. So I'm going to highlight again, and there's a couple ways to link. I can say insert in the menu, link, and it gives me this little box where I can paste my link, and I'm going to click apply. So you know that you've successfully linked something when it turns blue. Now I'm going to show y'all a different way. I'm going to highlight watch, and I'm going to copy my link over here on my other screen. And I right-clicked on top of watch, and I have link almost in the center of this menu. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to paste that into the link box and click apply. So now my kids can come in here. You'd have to teach them, okay, when you click on that blue word, you'll have to click on the link that it's taking you to. All right, so now I've got more of my lesson in here, my engagement activity. So I don't know if y'all, I don't like how this looks. I don't like how this looks at all. So I'm going to come up here to, I think it's insert page break. I'll show you what that looks like. Insert page break. Let me make this a little bit bigger for y'all. And now I've got a better view of this text box, or I'm sorry, this table. But let's say I don't like how this looks at all, so I can format some of this. So like I said earlier, you can insert, you can highlight, and then you right click and say insert row below, and then maybe you want to put your instructions up at the top. Control C. I'm going to paste those in there. And then now I'm going to right click, and maybe I want to make this into columns. So that looks a little funky, and maybe I don't want this separate. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to merge your cells. And then I'm going to merge the second row, right click, merge cells. And now I can drag and drop my video or my picture. Okay, not the prettiest thing right now. Y'all can play around with formatting, but notice how I've already linked this. Maybe this wasn't the correct link. So when you click on something and you want to undo a link, instead of saying Control C or Control Z after you've done something, you can click on it, and then in the upper right hand corner it says remove link. So I can do that. So I've talked to y'all a little bit about linking words. Now you can link pictures, and that's really important. Maybe you like using pictures instead. So I am going to copy another URL, come back over here, select the picture, and I'm going to say insert link, and then I'm able to paste that link and apply it. So now when my kids go on it, it'll take them right to that. Do y'all see how that's a little bit more interactive and a little bit easier for the kids to take in the content and interact with it versus putting it all in, all these different files and attachments into Google Classroom? So I really love the HyperDoc idea. Again, I'm going to highlight my URL on my other page. I'm going to right click on my picture because it's selected, and I'm going to link it again. All right? Now, another feature of, or something else that you could insert in here, I have my independent practice. Now, maybe I want my kids to actually, they've worked through this lesson, they've worked through this entire lesson, and they need to go and actually turn something into me, right? So you would upload this to Google Classroom as an assignment. You would make a copy for each student. And then let's say you wanted to give them independent practice on something. You could put something in here, but maybe I'm going to just tell them to go back into Google Classroom and turn something in. So I know over on, let's see, this one, it tells turn your page in here, review pages here, see reviews. That's an authentic audience. I love that. So maybe I do something like that here, or maybe I say insert image, and maybe I want to pull in something from Google Drive, right? Or maybe I say insert drawing from Google Drive. And I have like a little Google Slides that my kids could actually work with, and I'm going to insert that in here, and I'm going to resize it again with the blue nodules, and maybe I center align it. So maybe I put in my directions right here. So this is an example. I hope y'all, I want you to pick one thing that we did. Maybe it is inserting a picture. Maybe it's linking to something. Maybe it is creating a table. Maybe it is inserting something from Google Drive. I'm going to give you an opportunity to try this now. And then I have one more thing left to share with you before we let you move on to something else. So really quickly, I am going to share this as a template with you. So let me delete some of this. Well, let me undo that. Let me file, make a copy. I'm going to show y'all something. All right, so you can make a copy like that. You can say file, make a copy, and that should be in your Google Drive, but this is really cool. This is for teacher use only. Do not do this with students. Do not do this with students. I'm going to come up here and I want to share this with y'all. And let's see, maybe I want to take this part off. Take this off. Delete some of this. I'm going to delete some of this for y'all. Okay, so you've got this. Maybe I delete all of this for you. Okay, I want you to do something with this. I want you to, and this is how you're going to share with teachers. I'm going to click share in the upper right hand corner, and I'm going to change this link. When I click on change to Houston County, y'all may get another option that says anyone with a link. So I'm going to say instead of restricted, I can use Houston County Board of Education, or I can say anyone with a link. I'm going to copy the link that I'm sharing, and I'm going to add I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to paste that link in the address bar. Now at the end of this link, past the last part, the last slash, I want you to take all of that off. Just edit, sharing something on there. I want you to type copy. So when I do that, and I click enter, this is what someone would see. So I'm actually going to take this link that I have in here, Control C, and I'm going to drop this in the chat real quick. And y'all can click on that and you should get this make a copy button. Now, there may be a ton of you trying to access this at one point. Y'all, if you have an error where it says high traffic, y'all just keep trying for me. If not, I want you to go in and create your own Google Doc. You can do docs.new, do your waffle. A lot of y'all said that. I want you to create a Google Doc, and I want you to practice one of the things that I just taught you. So maybe it's formatting the page, maybe it's inserting a picture or a table. Do something in your Google Doc to practice what we just did. So go for it. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. All right, y'all. I hope you had a chance to try something. Tell me in the chat, what did you do in your Google Doc that we just talked about? I want to see in the chat, did you insert something? Did you create a table? Maybe you used my template and adjusted it to make it your own? Y'all tell me in the chat. And while I'm waiting to see some of that trickle in from the feed, we're going to go back to what we were working on. And as we were working in here, y'all noticed that Lynn popped in, right? So Lynn, I've shared this Google Doc with her. Awesome. I'm seeing some inserted images and tables and linking. Love that. So y'all, Lynn's in here. I know she's in here because I've got a pink circle up at the top, and if I hover over it long enough, it's going to tell me who that circle is. And I can actually tell where Lynn is on this document. Now, y'all may have used this feature back in the spring where your kids and you were able to interact with each other on Google Docs. That would be a great way for your kids to be able to do some fun things in the classroom, because your kids can come in here and it'll show up. But maybe you want to work with a teacher. And so in the upper right hand corner, Lynn has already gone in and she is giving me a comment. So I think Lynn is actually on, are you on suggestion mode or editing mode, Lynn?
I thought I was on, I might be suggesting.
Okay, so there's two things in here I want y'all to know. In the upper right hand corner underneath, her L and the share, I have a little menu where it says editing and suggesting. So what's neat about this is if you switch to suggestion mode, it'll type in her color that she has. So I can come in here and click on, if she's adding things in here, I can click on, okay, yeah, I'd love to use that. Or I can resolve that. So Lynn, do you mind typing something up here above technology lesson or below right here and maybe make sure your suggestions on? She's going to switch to suggesting mode. And you should see what I'm talking about. So she's in suggestion mode now, and so she is typing in here, and this would be really cool because suggestion mode means they're not permanent. That's not something you have to actually edit the document with. She's just making her suggestions, her edits, and I can come in here and notice how it's giving me a little note to the side. I can say, okay, if I hover over it, it says accept suggestion, and it turns into the formatting that I already had in place. Now, Lynn, I want you to type something else in there.
Still suggesting?
Yes, still suggesting. That's hard, y'all. It's Friday at the end of the day. I know we're all ready for a weekend. Cool, I'm looking through the chat too. So she's in here suggesting that my mouse is ugly. How dare you, Lynn? All right, so I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna say, nah, chick, I don't need that. So notice this is real time, y'all. Lynn's in here while I'm in here, and it's really cool to use. So that is how you can collaborate within Google Docs. And then the last thing I want to share with you is if I come over here to the left in the file, I can download this as a Microsoft Word document. I think a lot of you may use that. Or I can do a PDF document. A PDF would keep all your links in place too. So those are two suggestions I have. If you want to download it, you can use that there. All right, so again, that's File, Download As, and you've got those two options. All right, y'all, well, thank you for listening to my Google Docs part. I am going to hop off the mic, and now you're going to hear from Kristen and Larry. Y'all are going to be working a little bit more in forms.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kristen, and I'm going to spend some time talking to you about Forms, which is an awesome app available to us through Google. It helps us collect information and also allows us to create quizzes As with most things in software, there's a number of ways to access and do these things. Some of you were saying you like to navigate through Drive, others of you through the Waffle. I'm currently in my Google Drive. So there is one way to access through Google Drive, and you can just click on the New button, and you will have to go to More, and then you will choose Google Forms. So that's one way. I'm a Waffle person, so I'm just going to open up a new browser, and I have my little waffle in the top right-hand corner, and I would scroll to the purple icon that says Forms. So this is the way I usually navigate to my forms. I like this way because it allows me to see my recently used forms. Before we start building a form, I do want to point out at the top that there are some templates that are worth checking out on your own time. Because again, we're going to build a quiz, but you can also look at things like contact information, maybe from parents, or gathering information from your department, teachers, etc. And I also love that they have one, a form to use as an exit ticket. So those are definitely worth checking out. But for right now, I'm going to use the colorful plus sign on the left-hand side to start a blank form. It's not a quiz just yet, but I'm going to show you how to do that. I want to hop right in and go to settings. Pretty much every time you hear settings, you're going to be going to the gear or the cog. In this case, it is in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to click on settings, and there's a lot of things y'all have to think through when you're setting up both your form and your quizzes. There's 3 tabs up here: General, Presentation, and Quizzes. Under General, we do encourage you to collect email addresses for your quizzes when you're working with students. It kind of helps verify that it's that actual student who is taking the quiz. And then we do want you to also keep checked that you would want Houston County Board of Education users to be the one to access if this is a quiz that you're working with for students. Next, you have the option to limit to 1 response or not. I'm going to choose that because we're creating a quiz. But if you were doing a study guide, for example, and it's something you want the students to do over and over and over again, you would not want to check this one. All right. And then you do also have some other options where you can allow them to edit even after they submit it. And you can also allow them to see summary charts and text responses of everybody who's responded. I generally do not check those, but depending on your purpose, that might be something you need. That is all under the General tab. Next, we have the Presentation tab. You have the option to show a progress bar. This is helpful if you end up with different sections and you have multiple pages, okay? The other one is to shuffle question order. So if you want your students to get the quiz questions in a different order, you would choose that option. And then I'm going to hop down here and look at the confirmation message. It's really light. You might not be able to see it too clearly, but right now it says your response has been recorded, but you can change it to anything. So maybe I'm going to say awesome job and put a smiley face after it. So the confirmation message is what will show up once that quiz or form has been submitted. Still not done with settings, okay? We've got to hop over to the quizzes because, again, I said we're going to make a quiz right now. In order to make this a quiz, I do have to toggle on this first option at the top where it says make a quiz. And then we've got some important decisions to make below that. Please do not turn on the locked mode. I know it's tempting. You want to lock it down if they're on a Chromebook, but it's going to lock it down for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and it's going to end up causing you problems. So please refrain from turning on the locked mode. Now let's go down a little bit further. You have the choice to immediately release the grade or to do it later manually. So if you leave it on immediate, that means once that student submits the quiz, right away they know what their grade is, okay? So that's going to be a choice that's just up to you. If you want them to have that immediate feedback, you certainly can leave it there, but I know a lot of you want to wait until your entire class or the majority of your class has taken the quiz. So in that case, we want to choose the second option, which is later. So we're going to release the grade later after we review it. And I'll show you a little bit in more detail after we've created a quiz, how that actually works. So for right now, I'm deciding we're doing a quiz. I don't want my students to see the grade right away. So I'm going to choose that I want them to see their grade later. When they do see their grade, what do we want them to see? You can choose, and these are just check boxes, you can choose whether they can see missed questions, correct answers, or point values. Now, whatever you do, make sure you click on the Save button in the bottom right-hand corner, or else these settings will not take effect. This is one of those places where you've got to remember to hit the Save button. So I am going to click on Save, which just takes me back to my little template here for my form. Notice it says Untitled Form, so I can give this a title. I'm just going to call it July 31st Quiz. And then it also gives me a title at the top, which I can adjust. So if you want the file name to be different than the actual title at the top, that's fine too. This is going to be my quiz on prepositions. So I can actually make the title at the top different from my file name. All right, and what you see below the title that I have here is what they call a card. Right now it just says Untitled Question. When I click on that card, it expands and it wants me to make a lot of different decisions. I want you to look at the section to the right of the card. Right now, by default, it's on multiple choice, but I can provide short answer, paragraph options, multiple choice, check boxes. Check boxes, they can select more than one correct answer. You can provide them with a drop-down list. You even can allow them to upload files to you. And then you have some other options all the way going down through asking them for a specific date and time. Our suggestion to you for the quizzes for students is to let the first card say something like, please type your name below. I would look, it automatically, it's so smart, it knew I wanted that to be a short answer question. I actually didn't even click on it, it did it so fast, okay? So please type your name below. The reason why you want to do this is because even though you might be collecting email addresses, if y'all recall student email addresses, it's some initials followed by a bunch of numbers. So when you're viewing the data on the back end, it's going to be a little bit nicer to be able to identify that student by name. So that's why we suggest that you ask for the student's name. If you're one of those people that really likes to break down the data even further, you could even have a spot for a first name and you could have a second card or a second spot for last name. That's up to you. So this is going to be short answer. And then if you look at the bottom, I have some options. I've got answer key, which I don't need an answer key for this one. I have an option to duplicate. The trash can obviously is going to be to delete. And then we have another toggle button, which is to require this question. I want to strongly encourage you to require them to put their name on there. And in fact, if it's a quiz, you might want to toggle required on for all questions. If you have required set and they do not answer it, they will not be able to submit the quiz. So you're forcing them to answer in some way, shape, or form. All right? So that is how to start off your quizzes. Settings, title it, and then request the first name. And what I would like for you to do now is I'm actually going to take a break and let you just try this for just a second. Now, you can travel to forms whichever way you like. If you're in OneDrive and you want to do it that way, if you like the waffle, do it through the waffle. But here's another way. If you are not familiar with forms at all, you can go to forms.google.com. You should be logged in with your HCBE email address. And I would like you to click on the blank form. And you don't have to mess with the settings right now, but if you'll just add a question card and make it a required question that students type out their name. And I'm going to give y'all about 90 seconds or so, about a minute and a half to do that, and then we'll take a look at some more things with forms. Okay, I hope you were successful in doing that. I'm back on my quiz and I want to build it out just a little bit further. Hopefully you notice the toolbar that shows up on the right-hand side. And again, if you hover over these things, it'll tell you exactly what it's going to do. So I can add another question, I can import questions, I can add a title and description, I can add an image, and I can also add video as well as a section. I'm going to start off by adding, let's do a title and description. This is just a card or an area that allows you to provide a little bit more information before you do your question. So I'm going to put some directions in here along with maybe a little bit of background information. Maybe I'm going to give some information to them about the preposition itself. And so this is just an information card. You can put whatever information you'd like on that. Okay, and now I want to add a question, so I'm going to hit the plus sign and scroll down, and I'm going to add a sentence along with some choices because I want my students to choose the preposition. Okay, so here's my sentence, and then let me add my choices. All right, so I've got the sentence, choices, it's on multiple choice. I do want to require it, so I'm going to toggle that on. And then now what I want to look at is the answer key because I want this graded for me. All right, so I'm going to click on answer key and I'm going to choose the correct answer. And I also am going to determine how many points that I want this to be worth. Maybe I want this particular question to be worth 10 points, so I can change that in the top right-hand part of the card. Now I could hit done at this point, but you can take this a step further and provide tailored feedback depending on your students' responses. On the bottom left-hand side in blue, you see an option that says add answer feedback. I'm going to get a dialog box that pops up, and I have a place to give feedback for incorrect answers and a spot for correct answers. So I'm on the correct answers tab, so maybe I'm just going to say, yay, great job if you do this. Notice I can add a hyperlink. I can also add a YouTube video, but for now, the correct answer, I'm just going to say, yay, that's great. For my incorrect answers, I think this might be where I might want to attach a video of this. Maybe they need some extra help with this. So I'm going to say, please review the video. So if they get the incorrect answer, I'm going to suggest this to them. Now I'm in the bottom left-hand side of this dialog box where I have the little video icon for YouTube. I'm going to go to the URL. I am pasting in a video that I've already previewed. I'm going to click on select, and then I'm going to click save. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. So now all my information is here. 10-point question, my correct answers here, feedback if they get it right, feedback if they get it wrong. Notice that you have a little pencil and a trash can next to both of these, so I can use the pencil if I want to edit it. I can also just go to the trash can if I decide I want to go a different route with it. So I'm going to click on done. I am 100% done with that particular question. The copy or the duplicate feature might come in handy here. So if that is, for example, the feedback that I'm giving for correct and incorrect answers, maybe that's the same feedback I want to give on 10 questions on this quiz, and I don't want to link it every time. What I can do is go to the bottom of the card of my first question. I've got those two little pieces of paper that show that I can duplicate. All right. Now I don't want the same question, so I'm going to take all that out. I'm just going to click on the X's and I'm going to delete. I'm going to take all that out, and I'm going to grab a new sentence, and I'm going to grab new choices and add these in. And then I'm going to click on the answer key. I still want this to be worth 10 points, so I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to choose the correct answer, but notice my feedback is still there. My positive feedback and then my feedback for redirection. All right, so that saved me a little bit of time. I'm going to click done again. Let's go back to our toolbar on the right-hand side. We've already talked about adding questions. We'll talk about importing in just a little bit. We've already talked about title cards. Let's just talk about an image. Let's say that there's something that you want them to see some type of visual aid that they need in order to answer the questions or your quiz questions, we're going to click on the image button. I think Megan says that looks like mountains. And I can insert the image by uploading something from my computer. In this case, I can do it from my camera. By URL, I can go to my Google Drive, or it's really convenient, they have the Google image search built in. So that's pretty nice. I'm going to just type in prepositions. And I'm going to choose this image. When I choose an image within the Google image search, I get a blue bar at the bottom. On the right-hand corner, I can click on Insert. And I'm going to scroll down, and here's my image that has some different prepositions on it. So I might say something like, see the examples below. Now, if you have been in some of the other trainings, or maybe you've heard from some of the other speakers, whenever you see those 3 dots, you always have some extra options. So right now, for my image, I can click on that. I can move it to the center. And I also can resize it. So if I have it selected, I've got those little handles or the nodules, whichever you want to call it, I can make it bigger or smaller for the student. But let's say I've got this image all the way at the bottom. This is probably something I want them to see at the top. So you can easily rearrange things on your quiz or on your form. If you're looking at your card, it might be really hard to see the way you're viewing it now, but when you look at it on your screen, in the top middle of your card, there's going to be 6 gray little dots. And when you mouse over it, you're going to get that little crosshair, and you can drag and drop to a new location within your form. So very easy to rearrange. It's just dragging and dropping. I'm going to go back down here to my second question that I had there, and then let's look at add a video next. So I already gave a video example for the feedback in case I got an incorrect answer, but there might be an instance where you just want to paste the video and then have the students answer questions. So you can just, let me backtrack again and show that just one more time. On the right-hand side, you've got the add video. I'm hopping over here to the URL tab. I'm pasting in a video about prepositions that I've already previewed, and I'm going to click on select in the bottom left-hand corner, and I might say, please watch the video first. I have the 3 dots next to my video, so I can center it if I'd like, and it's really quite small, so I think I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. And so you could add that video at the beginning. You can add multiple videos. You can do video, question, video, question. That's completely up to you. The last option here is to add a section, and when you click on that, it's just going to start saying section 2 of 2. What's going to happen on these sections is that it's going to be broken up into pages. So for maybe in this example, we have different parts of speech, so maybe all my prepositions are on the first section, and I want them to start a new page when they start talking about adjectives. Okay, so that's sections, and then if you're interested in advanced features, you can go back and catch our advanced video where Larry talks about using sections for branching and breakout and make your own adventure thing. So that's an option if you're looking for that. All right, guys, so let's take a look. I think we've covered almost all of that. Let's see. All right, we're still holding off on the import because we're going to take a look at that in Google Classroom. Let's go back up to the top right-hand corner. Next to, I'm going to go to the gear first just for context. If I go over, I've got a preview button, and then I have a customized theme button. It looks a little bit like a painter's palette. I'm going to click on that. You can customize your quizzes and forms just a little bit, and when you start making a bunch of quizzes and forms, it might make it a little bit easier for you to identify. So you can choose the color, theme color, background color. You just have a few options for fonts here, but you do have a few available. And you might have noticed at the top that you can do a header. So you can choose an image, and you can upload your own image, or they do have some built-in images. I'm going to choose the one with the pencils. When I choose it, blue bar at the bottom, I've got to click on Insert at the bottom right. And it changes the theme, it changes the color as well. You still have a little bit of options that you can go back and play around with if you'd like. So that's for your theme, or you're customizing your theme options. All right, I know that chunk was a lot, so I'm going to pause again for just a second, ask you to go back to your form, and if you'd locate that little painter's palette so that you can customize the theme, play around with that just a little bit, and also if you'll take a minute and click on that gear and change the settings so that your form is now a quiz. We're gonna give you about 60 seconds, about a minute or so to do that on your own, and then we'll be right back. Okay, I hope you had a chance to check out both the customizing the theme and then also going into the settings and toggling on the quiz. All right, let's take a look at the button that's in the middle, the preview. I love this because you can see what the students are gonna see. Everybody loves being able to do that ahead of time. So it's a little eyeball here next to your gear. I'm gonna click on preview, and this is exactly what the students will see. I can see that I've got to type my name. I can see my questions. The questions that are required have a little red asterisk next to them. So if I don't answer those, it is not going to allow me to submit. Okay, so I am going to have to put my name. I see my image. I see my directions. I'm going to do a wrong answer, maybe a right answer. Notice I can see, you know, how many points it's worth. I could play my video. Because I added a section, it's actually telling me I can click on next to go to the next page, but I don't have any questions here. Okay, but this is where that next section or the next set of questions would begin if you choose to break it up by sections, okay? All right, but I'm ready. I'm done with this quiz, so I'm just gonna click on submit. And here's that message that I typed in at the beginning when we were doing settings. So it's like, awesome job, but again, you can customize this any which way that you would like. Now I'm going to close out that preview. So let's just assume I'm a student. I just took this quiz. Let's say that I want to go take that quiz again. So as a student, let's say I click on that assignment within Google Classroom for that quiz. I go back to it a second time, and look what my message is this time. It says you've already responded, because I chose that option that says to limit to one response. So that's what your students are going to get if that's the box that you check. Okay, so that limits them to one response. But let me show you what the steps that you need to take in order for your students to view their grade later on. Let's assume that your class is finished taking the quiz and now you're ready for them to see their information. Let's go back to that really important setting that I talked about at the beginning. I'm going back to my gear in the top right-hand corner for my settings. I'm going to jump over to the quizzes tab on the right-hand side. And I'm going to scroll down to where it says release grade. Remember, we said later. That's why they got that response. It's just like, hey, thanks, you're done. But now I'm going to change it so that it says immediately after each submission. So again, you're assuming everybody's done with the quiz. You're ready for them to be able to get their feedback. I'm choosing immediately after each submission. I've got to go to the bottom right-hand corner and click Save. And then as a student, if you have taken these steps and a student comes in, when they go back to it, I still have you've already responded, but notice I have a new option because you have released the grade. So I can click on View Score. I can see that I've gotten 10 out of 21 points. I can scroll down. I've got the feedback for the incorrect answer. I've got the feedback for the correct answer. All right. Now, let me close out this student view and let's go back to the teacher view. So now we're looking at the teacher view. This is the quiz that you've created. We want to look at the results. So at the top, you've got the option for questions, which is the section we've been working on all along. I'm going to hop over to responses. Right now I only have one, but the summary tab will be really nice once you have a bunch of responses. You can just get a quick overview of how everybody is doing on this particular quiz, okay? You may also just take a look at one question at a time and see how that kind of panned out for them. And then you also can choose individual. So I can look at this individual score. And what's nice is, like, let's take a look at this particular example. I know they got 0 out of 10 points, but maybe they sent me a message or we had a discussion about it or there was some extra credit involved. For whatever reason, I decided, you know, this person really needs to get at least half credit for this particular answer. You can manually type this in, okay? So you can review and manually type in and change the grade. This is going to come in handy for your short answer and your paragraph questions because that's not going to be auto-graded. So you would just come into your responses, go to each individual quiz, and then you could assign the points as needed. Now, I changed this to 5 out of 10. It was 0. At the bottom, it's telling me edits are pending. I can either discard this or save it. I'm going to save it and give those extra points. And now you can see that 15 out of 21 points were earned. Okay, one last thing, and then I'll pass it off to somebody else. All right, we've been talking about all these quizzes and forms, but let's talk about it in the context of Google Classroom. I know some of you are going to create a bunch of quizzes and forms ahead of time, and you're probably going to be tempted to just assign that, just attach it in an assignment. But let me give you a suggestion. Let me talk to you about importing. I'm going to go to the classwork tab inside Google Classroom, and I'm going to click on Create. And I know that, like I said, I'm going to click on Create. You would think that you could just go to Assignment and attach it right here, which you can, but you don't want to. All right? So instead, I want to encourage you to click on Create, Quiz Assignment. This is going to give you a blank quiz, but you can import the questions. Okay? The reason why you want to do this is if you continue to attach the same quiz over and over and over again, you are going to have tons of results. You're going to have 6th periods and 5th periods and 4th periods and last semester's results all coming into one location. So you need to give them a fresh quiz. I hope that makes sense. All right, guys. So I want to encourage you to go to Create New Quiz Assignment. It's going to give you a blank quiz. Let me show you how easy it is to pull in whatever those quizzes are that you've already created. I'm going to click on this blank quiz. And over on the right-hand side, the one that I skipped so far was that Import Questions. It's the second button down. And I can choose from any quiz that I've created so far to import questions. So I'm going to choose the quiz we were just working on, July 31st quiz. I'm going to click on Select. On the right-hand side, all my questions are popping up. So I can import everything, or I can just say, you know, I only want part of it. I don't want to see the examples in this one. So that's completely up to you whether you import all of it or just part of it. At the bottom, I have the option to import 8 questions. I'm going to do it. And you can see that it brought in my information below. Now you still might have to clean it up a little bit. You still want to have to add a title and change your file name, but that is going to be the best way for you to view your results. All right, guys, I hope that makes sense. If not, email us. We'd love to get with you about your Google Forms and Google Classroom. But for now, I'm going to pass it off to Lynn, who's going to talk to you about YouTube.
Good afternoon. This is Lynn Hawkins, and I'm going to talk to you just a few minutes about YouTube and then Larry's going to jump on here and finish it out. First, I don't know about you, but I like Google as my home screen. And just looking at Google, you could type in YouTube right there. You could save YouTube as one of your favorites up here on the top. You can bookmark it. But if you are logged in over here with your Google account, you can actually go to the grid, the waffle. I like to call it the waffle because everybody loves waffles. Everybody loves waffles. So anyway, you go to the waffle and you scroll down and you'll see YouTube. And there it is. Click on that. And with YouTube, obviously I've already made sure that I am logged into my HCBE account. That's like the first and foremost thing you need to do. But with YouTube videos, you can actually approve these videos now. So if you find a video that you like, there's one with relaxing music. That sounds really good. So if I go there and I click that video, I've actually already approved this video because I really liked it, just so you know. But you can click and remove it, and if I refresh, it'll come back up and I can actually approve it again. I approve this message. You'll be hearing that more and more as November approaches. But anyway, that's how you approve. That's how you search for videos. Just go to the top, and some of the ones that we've been working on this Google Classroom stuff for like the past couple of days. Actually, it's been past week, actually probably since we got back. But anyway, and I have seen at least 3 really good examples of people that, and it interests me as well, the Bitmoji Classroom, Google Classroom. I like those. I like eye-catching things. So let's see if they have maybe like a how-to. Ooh, I like. How to create an interactive Bitmoji classroom. That one looks really cool. So click there, and maybe I want to take this and, you know, share it with others. So obviously somebody's already clicked and said, hey, it's a good one. So, but I could remove this if I wanted to and say, no, I've watched it. Oh, which brings me to the point. I don't know if you heard Kristen say this when she was talking to you about her forms, but before you can approve or disapprove any video, please make sure that you watch that video all the way through to the very end. And the reason that I say that is there is really no telling, if you didn't make the video, there's no telling what could be on that video. So I'm being honest with you. And back in the day, when I was going to school in the 70s and the 80s, those teachers did not preview, and we didn't have all this technology, this newfangled stuff. We had reel-to-reels, and they didn't have that equipment at the house, so those teachers just went by and grabbed one, and they'd throw it on there, and we'd watch it, and next thing you know, there was all kind of stuff that we should not have been viewing. So please preview your videos before you approve them or disapprove of them. Okay, so talk to you about making sure that you're in the right place on YouTube. And I don't know if you, a lot of people have said, I'm having trouble, and it's really because you have not logged into you haven't logged out of your other account and logged into your HCBE account. So please make sure that you do that. And I know you see me over here on the top right-hand side, and I've got an L right there, so I know that it's me, and I see that my email address is up there, but please make sure you do that. Adding these to Google Classroom, well, Kristen showed you the way to add it to forms, but you can still add videos to actual other parts of Google Classroom, like Stream, and you can add it to assignments. So if I go over to a Google Classroom, and I made a test, not a test dummy, just a test. And in this test, if I want to actually make a post, share something with my class, I click there, and it has an add button, and one of the choices is YouTube. And when I click on YouTube, I can actually search for something. So if I was doing a lesson on fish, perhaps, and I can look, but I tell you what, unless you've previewed this, you better not be watching this or posting it. So It might be better if you just always do by the, or import it, I should say, by the URL so that you've watched it first. So I'm gonna go back over here and I'm gonna type in the word fish, and I'm gonna type in elementary, because I want, yeah, something for the kid, the babies, like facts about fish. How about that? That's awesome, because a lot of times they want to have aquariums and all that kind of good stuff. And it looks like we got an ad right here. Oh, so sad. But anyway, this one is facts about fish. I'm going to say that I have watched this all the way through. It's 1 minute and 41 seconds. I think, you know, it's going to be a goodie, I think. But you got to make sure you watch it. And I'm going to copy that URL, and you can do Control-C, or you can actually right-click on it and just hit the word copy. Now I'm going back over to my Google Classroom and then Stream, and going back to YouTube. And instead of doing the search URL, and I'm going to paste it in there, you can do Control-V to put it in, or you can hit right-click and paste, and it'll put it in there for you. But there you go, there's your video about fish, and you can just give them some direction. Look at this video for our upcoming lesson on fish, and then post, and there it is. It's in your stream, and the kids will see it and they'll know. I love the stream because it's really a place where you can post those announcements. It's what the kids see right before they come in. Kristen called it a feed. I like to think of it like a lot of times teachers post stuff outside their classroom, you know, right before the kids come in. What are we going to do today? This is what we're going to look at today. So here you go. Go ahead and get a quick glimpse at this. Another place you can put it, besides on the stream, you can put it in classwork. And in classwork, you have all these different options. We went over, I think Krista went over all of this stuff in the last, was it last training or? Yes, it's one of the, they're all kind of running together. I hate to be that way, but anyway. But you can add a YouTube video to an assignment. If you'll click on assignment and click add down at the bottom, and you click YouTube. And again, I tell you, make sure you've watched this video, and you can add that video right in there. Just Control-V, that same video right in there. And title, name all the different, oh wait, this is instructions. Fish, how about that? That's the title. And then the instructions, name all the different fish. Let's see them do that. And then you just click assign after you do all, and Kristen went through all of this stuff with you just a minute ago too, I think. But assign, so boom, you just assign that, and now you've got an assignment that's got a video in it. You can also do what she just showed you a second ago with the form, and she showed you 2 different ways to actually stick a video in there. I thought that was pretty awesome. Video for feedback, and you can actually do a video on your quiz. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't want to say it's easy, but YouTube, I love YouTube, and I would highly recommend using videos. They're very, very interactive, and a lot of times, especially with the kids that are going to be doing this virtually, that may be like a lot of the contact that they get. And kids are watching videos anyway, so this is just a great way to pull them in. But I'm going to turn it over to Larry. He's going to show you the side of YouTube from the student's point of view. So Larry, I'm passing it off to you, bud.
All right, guys. So we're going to take a look at kind of what students see, and I got to say this is kind of my least favorite training right now, because in this training I have my smallest part. They kind of restricted how much I get to talk in this training, but that's all right. I still get a little bit of time with y'all before I have to pass y'all back on to someone else. So what we've done here is, this is Miss Spigner, Megan. She has a class set up here, and she has added me as a student. And this is what we recommend y'all doing with each other as well. Add each other as students to your classes. So if you need to see something from the student's perspective, you can do that. Alternatively, you can always log in as one of your students. You have access to their usernames and passwords, so you can log in as them. That's very helpful if you're trying to help them troubleshoot an issue. Or you can also do what I like to do. If you are like me and you have children in the district, I'll add them to my classes just so I can see things and mess around with it. And then when I'm done, I'll just remove them out. And so they know if it's a class that they're not familiar with, they don't even look at it. So here I am, I'm in this classroom as a student, and we're going to look at YouTube, like Lynn just said. So I'm going to classwork, and we're going to look at 2 assignments. So let's go to this YouTube tutorial assignment down here, and we will click on View Assignment. So as a student, when a YouTube video is posted in here, I can click, it'll pop up, and I'm going to mute it just so the audio don't start coming through on accident. And they can watch the video right here. You notice it's not very big. There is a full screen button, so I can go boom and make it big. I can also click on YouTube to view it out on YouTube, and there is a closed caption. Now guys, you do not have to make a closed captioning file to have closed captions on the videos. YouTube does that automatically for us now, so it's super easy. All right, so that's just on a normal assignment. So after I've viewed it, I can do whatever I'm supposed to do, and I can submit that assignment. Let's now go look at how it looks in a quiz. So somewhere on this list, there it is, sample quiz. Let's go complete this quiz as a student. So I'll click next. Here's the video. I can click play, but notice in a quiz you can't go full screen. So that's one thing to be aware of. If you want to go full screen, or a student wants to go full screen, they will need to click YouTube. Go out on YouTube. Here they can blow it up nice and big. Do all the same things. Closed captioning is still there. Closed captioning is here as well. They can view the video and then finish answering the quiz. So super easy for them to do that, whether it's viewing it in Spot or opening it in a new window. Now, one thing I will tell you guys, sometimes if you're using videos that aren't yours, you're using, from whatever resource on YouTube, sometimes people can have their videos locked where they're not allowed to be embedded. And what can happen is a student can click on that video and it'll say video is not allowed to be played within a site. Click here to view the video on YouTube. Students will just need to click the video and watch it in a separate tab, and then when they're done watching it, close the tab and they're right back to wherever they were at. So that's the student's perspective of YouTube. Super easy as long as you notice the way they were, the Megan in this case presenting these 2 videos to me as the student. One was attached to a normal assignment, this one was attached in a quiz. So it was very easy for me as the student to consume this content. All right, so that wraps up YouTube, but guys, wait, there's more. I've got a little bit more for you before I get kicked off and have to pass it on to someone else. We are going to talk about virtual meetings. So you may or may not already have this, but if you've logged into the Single Sign-On portal today, you may have seen that you now have a Zoom icon. It may be at the bottom of your list. Do know that you can drag it and drop it to wherever you want it to be, so maybe I want mine first and foremost. We are going to be going with Zoom this year. So I want to show you how this works. Now, for those of you who used this back in the spring, you had to go through Clever and there was a few steps. We're not doing it like that. So this is a new process. Now it's going to be in your single sign-on. You click on it and you're in it. You'll see that you have the full license, 300 people, unlimited time. But what's really important here is that you take the time to go through on the left-hand side the settings and get all of your settings set correctly. Now, I know if I showed you right here, right now, all the correct settings on how to make a safe and secure meetings, you're probably going to forget because you're already consuming a lot today. So what we have for you, and we will be sharing this with you, don't worry, but this is on our digital learning training resource site. If we scroll down, there's a Zoom section and there's a video right here, how to change settings for safe and secure meetings. Watch this video and set your settings along with what we do in that video. If anything changes along the way and we need to update y'all, hey, there's a new setting you need to change, that'll be communicated with you either through us or through technology services or through your administration. That will get down to you so you always know how to set safe and secure meetings. Some of the big things I'll point out: you want the waiting room turned on, you want to require passcodes. If you want certain features, like maybe you want to use the whiteboard feature, I'm going to hit Control and F on my keyboard and I can search for whiteboard and I can ensure that my whiteboard feature is turned on. So it's real easy. Again, that was Control and F to bring up the search, and I can search for anything in particular I want to look for to turn on. So if I want to be sure my password is turned on, or I guess they use passcode, don't they? There we go, passcode, excuse me, use their terminology. So you'll want to go through here and be sure that all of your settings are set according to the way we have them in this video right here. So that's first and foremost. We get our meeting set up safe and securely. We're happy. How do we create our Zoom meetings? How do we run them? So we have the meetings link up here in the top left. I'll click there. And I can click on schedule a new meeting. So I can give it a title. You got your date and time. How long is it going to last? Now look, just because you have it set to an hour doesn't mean it's going to automatically end at an hour. That's just to let participants know what you're estimating. Do not check recurring meeting because you want to use a new link for every meeting. That's a safety, security concern right there. So always use a new link. Generate a meeting ID automatically. Don't use your personal one because then it's going to keep that link the same every time. So generate automatically, use a passcode. Then you decide, and this really gets down to your students and how much they're able to handle. Do you want their video to automatically be on or off when they join? And same thing, do you want them to be muted when they join? So keep that in mind, you know, whether you want those on or off. Now, if you have them unchecked like I do where they're off, they can turn themselves on, but you're going to have to train them how to turn themselves on. I would never check enable join before host when dealing with students. You don't want them in there unless you're in there. That is a huge safety concern. Record the meetings automatically. You are not to record anything with students, so do not check that box. You shouldn't be recording anything with students. So once you have it set up, you simply hit the save button. And once you've done that, you'll be able to find it right here in your meetings list. So here's one that I have set up that I made earlier. So what I would do is I'd click on demo meeting, and this link, I would simply take this link. I could copy the address. I could go into a Google Classroom where I'm a teacher. Let's see here just a second. And I could say, all right, meeting today at 1. And then I can post the link. And then the students would know once, and because I have it turned off to enable join before host, until I go in as the teacher and start that meeting, they won't be able to log in. They'll just click on that link and it won't take them anywhere. But this way the link is in a secure place. They'll get a new link every time. It'll be right there for them. So when it's time to start the meeting, we click the start the meeting button. And I'm just going to show you a few things in the meeting. So it's going to pop up here. Now, normally you would say yes, join audio. I'm not doing that because I'm using my audio to live stream through you. All right, so here we are. I don't have a video right now because I don't have a webcam on this computer. Now, guys, if you get one of the Chromebooks, those have built-in webcams, so you'll be able to do it that way. Just right there, you can turn on your webcam. The couple of important things to know here at the bottom is participants. Click here. This is where you can allow people to come in from the waiting room. You can also kick people out. You can mute everybody. So that's the participants. We also have, what's really important is the share screen. So a few things I want to point out here. First of all, share computer sound. If you are playing some type of audio on your computer and teachers need to be aware, be sure and check that button. Other than that, simply share your screen and anything that's on your screen will be displayed. You also have the whiteboard, so you can use a virtual whiteboard. So if you have a document camera that you want to show, I'm going to show you this. And actually, because I'm watching my bandwidth here and just to be safe, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this real quick. But I want to show you how you would use your document camera in that meeting. So let me close out of Zoom real quick. All right, so if you have a document camera you want to use during a Zoom meeting, you'll have it plugged in. Now, if it's the old gray ones, the smart document cameras that are gray and boxy, you'll want to be sure you have this ImageMate program on your computer. If you don't, please put in a work order. Or you can go through My Viewboard. When you open My Viewboard, this is our whiteboard software that we're using that's replacing Smart Notebook. At the bottom, there is a little box icon. We're going to click on that, and then you will see the document camera. Now, the old boxy smart document cameras do not work in this software. You'll need to use that ImageMate software. So it is right there for you. All right. So you can use the document camera. You've got whiteboarding. You can display anything on your screen. And why did I click no instead of yes? Makes it very easy with Zoom to do all that. All right. So that is Zoom in a very brief nutshell. Again, one last time, because I can't stress this part enough. Does it have a mic too? Ms. Nash, does what have a mic too? The Chromebook? Yes. If that's what you're asking about. So some people display a photo when the camera is off in Zoom. How do you do that? I believe it is somewhere in your Zoom settings. There is an option to, so the document camera, Ms. Nash, it depends on the individual document camera. The old gray boxy ones, no. Some of the newer ones, yes, but it's some of them, not all of them, so that's hard to answer specifically. So as far as displaying an image, it is, I'm trying to remember, there's a setting and it has to do with customizing something. But there is a spot in there somewhere. Of course, you could always just display your screen and show an image, right? You could do that as well too. It would be an easy way to do it. All right, so at this time, let's get into a lot more fun stuff. And guys, this is going to finish it up for me, at least hearing me. I'm going to jump back in the chat. Mike's got some really, really cool fun stuff he's about to show you. It has been pretty much the highlight of every of the last 5 trainings we've done. So give us just a second to transition over to Mike.
All right, thank you everybody. It's time to get on with Google Earth. So we're gonna look at some virtual field trips, look at how we can go places without actually leaving our classroom. What could be better than that? All right, so I'm on google.com here. I am logged in with my teacher account, my email address. And what I'm gonna do is go to the waffle here. So I'm gonna click on the waffle. I'm going to scroll down and I see Google Earth. So I'm going to click on Google Earth. Let's give it a second to load. Now, I am not an astronomer, but that certainly looks like the Earth to me. So Google Earth has launched, and in its simplest form, we can search for places on Google Earth, which a lot of people will do that. So if I go to my little search box here, maybe I want to go to the Louvre. And there it is. It shows up here on my places. So I can click here. And when I click on it, it's going to zoom in to Earth, take me to that museum. You see it loading up here. And there I am. I'm like floating above. Look in a little bit. It will stop in just a second. If it does drive you crazy, the spinning, you can kind of zoom in or zoom out and it will stop. We've got our little tools over here in the bottom right-hand corner. We've got the plus and the minus. That can let us zoom in. You can also use your mouse wheel to do that. You've got your 2D. If you click that, it'll be in 2D. This is a 3D image here. We've also got our little message box here that gives us a little information about it, and that's from Wikipedia. So I could click on that and pull up information. What I think is one of the coolest things in Google Earth is our little peg person here. So you see this little person right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click and hold it, and I'm going to drag and drop that little fella somewhere on this map. Now you see as I drag, I haven't released the peg person yet. As I drag the peg person, you'll see the streets light up in blue. Okay, those are images from Google. And you'll also see the blue little dots, blue little circles. Now those are images uploaded by Google users. They're 360-degree images. We'll take a look at those as well in just a second, but let's go ahead and land on this little street right here. So I'm going to click here, and what it does is it zooms me in to that location. So I'm going to be looking from that very same spot. So you can see now I'm right outside the Louvre. I can spin here, get a better look. I'm left clicking and holding on the screen and just moving it. If you are in a classroom up here on your view board, you can do that as well. You can just use your finger there to press and spin it around. So everything that you see here I'm doing with a mouse, you can do with your finger on that view board. So there you have it. You can just kind of spin all the way around there, and that's pretty cool. I can zoom in a little bit. I can zoom back out. If I want to hover above the city again, if I just click on my little peg person, I just click here, gonna zoom me on out. There I am. Now I'm back above the Louvre. Now, one other thing you'll notice, and we'll check out these little dots. I'm gonna click on my peg person. I'm gonna, whoops, turned all the way blue. It'll go away in a second. Notice that some of these little dots, these little circles, are on top. So you might think, well, if I choose one of these, I'm gonna be on the roof. You won't actually be on the roof. You'll go inside the museum. So let's click on this one here, and I'm gonna just release. It's gonna take me back down. You know, so if you were to go to a museum in Washington, D.C. and do the same thing, you'll see the little dots on the roof. Just don't think you're going, you know, on top of it. Now, I'm going to go here and the same thing. I am inside that portion of the museum now. I can scan around and around. And it's really cool to be able to do that. Now, of course, this being art, if you were maybe earth science, you were talking about, you know, physical characteristics of certain places, you know, the Grand Canyon or other Mount St. Helens, something like that. You will still find those blue dots on there, and maybe they're standing on the edge or up on the side of the mountain. You can see all the way around. It's really pretty cool what you can do on these things. So Google Earth is definitely not just a map. Now, let's look at some of the items we have along the side. That'll help you out. So we've got search. We could type in almost anything here and find images. So I could click there. Now, if I want to find some pre-made, what I call tours, that go from place to place showing images. If I click on this one here that says Voyager, I can click here, and it shows me some of the pre-made ones that they have. So let me take let's go to education and click on this. And if I scroll down, I can find one that I was looking at earlier. Yeah, it was Lewis and Clark. So if I click here, this one was actually made by PBS. So here is the voyage. And if I click on Discover, it's going to launch all these different little locations here. We're going to travel to every one of those that you see a dot. So we click Discover. It launches. It shows me I am in St. Charles, Missouri. Gives me a little information here. Tells me that the red lines, that's how we traveled out to the west. The yellow is coming back. There's even a YouTube video inside this box. So if I were to click here, I've got a short, almost 3-minute video I can show without ever leaving Google Earth. Pretty cool. I also can use my peg person. I can zoom in. I can do all that stuff. If we look down here, this is only one of 12 slides. So I can click to my next one. It jumps me to my next location, brings me all the way over here to Floyd's Bluff. I could click to my third one, my third slide here. And again, some of these information boxes are just information and pictures. Here's another YouTube video that's already built into this presentation. So a lot of cool stuff that's in here. Now, I do want to step back to the search box. Just remember this little icon here. I'm going to click in the search box. And let's say I would typed in, let's say, Paris. I typed in Paris. If you scroll down, remember the little icons? Here's some guided tours. So you'll also find them here. So you can go in here and you can click on one of these. This is going to be a pre-made tour as well. It's called, a guided tour. So you don't have to create anything. So now I thought that was kind of cool because you can find them in here too. So we've got our search. We've got our Voyager, gives us those guided tours. We've got this other option here, which is the Feeling Lucky dice. So if I just click here, it's going to take me just somewhere on Earth. That's taking me to Italy again. So it just takes me to a little location here. I don't use that as much. What I do use a lot, what I find very useful, is we've got this next little box called Projects. Projects lets you build, or your students build, voyages. So if I click here, I can go to New Project and start a new project. I create project in Google Drive. I can put Rome, give it a title, and this is where it gets really neat because now I can start adding new features to my project, and it'll behave just like the one I showed you over Lewis and Clark. So I click New Feature. I can search for a place to add place marks. I can add a full screen slide, which is almost like a PowerPoint slide or a Google slide, if you will, and put that in there where I can put a nice title, a picture background, things like that. And when you're using these, you can even customize these boxes here. So you don't have to use these. You can tell your students, hey, take these out of there, make your own. So they can insert in YouTube videos that they find. They can type in information here. It's really cool what they can do. And they can click here to share it, which means they can add a collaborator. So 2 or 3 kids could be working on the same project together. And when they're done, they just grab the link, submit it to you, either through Google Classroom. They just submit that link, and now you've got a link to all of their projects. So very, very cool to do. It's kind of a different way of, or I think the kids will find a little more interesting than just doing, say, another PowerPoint with pictures in it. So it's kind of cool how they can do that. So that is projects. The other ones I don't really get into. I will point out here on Google Earth projects, the tutorials are very good. They show you every little step. Of course, I'll always help you with it, and I'll always help the kids with it if you need that. But these tutorials pop up, and they're really, really informative, show you step by step, and they're like 2 minutes long. So really, really neat. I really like those. All right, so we've got Google Earth down. One other one I want to show you, or another one I'm going to show you, is Google Arts and Culture. And the website for this is artsandculture.google.com. You go here, you've got Home, you've got Explore, where you can search for different things, look for points of interest here nearby, and you can save things in favorites. So I can scroll down and find some of these items that are already made. And one of the things that I'll check out, walk around 5 iconic Parisian rooftops. So if I were to click on that, again, it's bringing up Paris. So here we are, and I can scroll down. That's what I think is so cool here. This is the Eiffel Tower. So right now you are on the Eiffel Tower looking over Paris. So some of these are made with Google Maps, and it's so cool to be able to do that and see what you would see from the Eiffel Tower. Love me some Google Earth. All right, we're going to take a look. We're going to move from arts and culture. I'm going to move into Google Maps. So I'm going to click here and just open another tab. Going to my waffle again, and I'm going to Google Maps. So most people have used some sort of maps, you know, maybe your navigation or whatever in your car. You use maps. So people will go to Google Maps, they'll find directions, things like that. There's a couple other little features in Google Maps that some people aren't aware of. First of all, you can search and you can type in just about anything. I'm going to select Warner Robins High School here. So I'm going to click right here and I'm going to show you one little thing that's in Google Maps some people aren't aware of. So here's Warner Robins High School. Here's a map, you know, that part of Warner Robins. You could still use your little peg person. Here's my little peg person. And when I drag that peg person out, you see that the streets light up blue. So it's the same thing. I can drop my little peg person. Right here, I'm going to drop right in the middle of this intersection. Right there. And I'm going to release. So you'll see this is, I believe, Davis Drive and I want to say MLK. But this is CB Watson. There's CB Watson. There's the gym. Not quite finished, so it's an older photo. Spin around. There is Warner Robins High School. So some of y'all have done this before. And okay, what's the big deal about Street View? Well, there is a little clock. A lot of people don't notice this clock. If you click on the clock, you can go back in time using this. So it depends how many times, you know, Google has taken photos of this area. But notice that right now, this is August 2019. I can use my slider, go back to 2012, click, and this is a picture from 7 years ago at the same spot. Warner Robins High School, no gym, spin around, no CB Watson. So you can go back, and it's kind of cool to show kids what it used to look like at some time. And again, this time lapse really depends. You know, it's dependent upon, you know, how many times Google has taken pictures and things like that. So it's really neat how you can just kind of go back and use that little time machine on there. Now, one of the other things we'll take a look at, I'm going to close out of here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to close this, just maneuvering around. I'm going to click on satellite view here, change my view. I'm going to minimize that. And I'm going to start going out, like way out. And when I keep going out, notice my search goes to space. So I could look at Mars. And it shows me the surface of Mars. That's kind of cool. I can move around. I could go to the International Space Station. Click here. So now I'm inside the International Space Station looking out. So isn't that cool? I think it's cool. Zoom on out a little bit. I can choose other locations to check out. Whoops. I can choose other locations to view. I have those popping up here. You know, Earth, Venus, Mercury, and so on. So all kinds of cool things that you can go to and look at those surfaces. That's a little unknown feature here in Google Maps that people use. Let's see, I believe I am about ready to pass this over to Megan as we begin to wrap up this Friday.
All right, y'all, before we go any further, we need to know what has been your favorite thing so far today. We've gone over a lot of different things, and we're just hoping that something has gotten under your skin and you're like, oh yes, I have got to go and try that like right now. Was it Google Docs? Was it working in Forms? Or was it using YouTube? Was it your Zoom or virtual field trips? Let me know in the chat real quick what was your favorite, and let's see what comes in real quick. Oh, the virtual tours, yes, those are awesome. Oh my gosh, y'all, I cannot handle Larry Wadsworth. Google Forms, Google Quiz setup and field trips, yes, adding hyperlinks and docs. Love it. Google Earth, using YouTube. Cool, y'all. So everyone's taking a little something today, and you're going to go back and test it out and investigate it a little bit more. So just a few more things before we let y'all all hop off, and I hope everyone has a really good weekend. Like, rest up, y'all. But before we move on from this, there's a couple more things. So when y'all, did you know you're getting a Google Chromebook? I think someone asked about that earlier in the chat. Y'all are all gonna get a Google Chromebook, and we're going to actually have to sign an acknowledgement agreement, and that's gonna be housed in Incident IQ. So you're gonna sign in to your single sign-on. You'll click on the icon called Incident IQ. When you do that, you will get a pop-up immediately as you're logged in. My screen looks a little different than y'all's, but you'll see this pop-up. It'll say Employee Laptop Agreement 2021. I want you to click on that link. It's gonna open up the laptop agreement, and what I want y'all to do is read through it. You're signing your life away, just kidding. And you're gonna click I agree, and then you'll digitally sign that and click submit. So that way, when it comes time to receive your Chromebook, you are ready to go. Y'all, I would go ahead and fill this out before you leave home today, all right? So again, I know I went through that quickly, so you're gonna sign in to your portal. You'll click on Incident IQ. A pop-up will appear. You'll click on Employee Laptop Agreement. You'll read through it, click I agree, and then you'll sign it and submit. So this is only for teachers. This is only for teachers, okay? Alrighty, the other thing that I wanna share with y'all, which we've referenced throughout this whole training, is the digital resources that we have for you. Y'all, I hope you've seen this site at least one time in your life. We've been using it since March, been trying to at least. There's lots of good resources. I think Larry showed y'all the Zoom resources right there. But the biggie right now is, okay, how y'all have gone through this training and you want to look back at something, how are you going to access that? We're going to send an email. I think I've told y'all that already, but to be more specific, it'll be housed on our recordings page. So you'll click on recordings and you'll find Friday, July 31st, and that'll be where it's at. All right? So we've got that, and then the other thing that I want to share with you, y'all, Google is going to be more up to date than we ever could be, all right? So if you can't get a hold of us or you have a question about it, about any of the products that we've gone over, Google has an amazing support site. And I'm going to actually drop this in the chat real quick. Right there. So Google support, you can come in here and click on any kind of Google Suite product, okay, in here. And so let's just pretend we're gonna go into Google Drive right now. You'll think about your question, figure out what you want. I'm gonna come in here to organize and find my files, and maybe I want to find files in Google Drive. Y'all, what I love so much about this site is that it tells you step-by-step directions. And what's even better is that it shows you on the computer, an Android device, and iPhone and iPad. So you are able to get quick help if you can't get a hold of one of us. So definitely keep this one in your back pocket. This could help you when you're talking to parents, to students, trying to kind of problem solve. So know that that's right there in case you can't get a hold of one of us. So with that, y'all, we are hopefully gonna get some feedback from you. Larry's about to pop up our training survey that we would love to get some information from you. We hope that we can continue to support y'all in the best way possible as we get this school year started. So please, please, please take a moment to fill that out. I think Larry's about to drop that in the chat for me. And so you'll have easy access to the survey real quick. And yeah, y'all take that for us. And if you have any questions or anything at all, y'all know how to reach us at cis@hdbe.net. We can't wait to see what y'all do. And thank you for being here. Happy Friday. Happy new school year, y'all.